was born in a hospital, Grace Hospital in Hutchinson, Kansas. I was not born in my parents' home. A lot of people my age were born in their parents' home. We had a conversation about that the other day, and I was one of the few that was born in a hospital.
Why?
Why? I don't know. We never talked about it. It's just one of those things that happened, you know.
You think it was more modern, or
Oh yeah.
so? What happened after hospital?
I don't remember. But I was 5 years old when I started grade school in the country school in McPherson County. They had the schools divided up by districts, and we were District 39, and that was known as Alpha Grade School. And so I don't remember too much about those first 5 years before I started grade school. My sister was born 5 years after I was. I can remember I had my tonsils taken out before I started grade school, or just about the time I started grade school. So 8 years of grade school out in the country, and we were, what, a mile and 3/4 from the grade school to our farm.
So did you take a bus?
I'm sorry?
Did you take a bus to school?
No, there were no buses.
How? How'd you get to school then?
Well, sometimes one of my parents would take me. Sometimes I would walk. Sometimes I'd ride my bicycle. I got a bicycle at about the end of World War II, and it was a really nice bicycle, but the Schwinn Bicycle Company, none of the bicycle companies had gone back into production of bicycles for civilians, and so the bicycle shop had put one together that made it look like new, and my parents bought it for me, so I had that bicycle. And so sometimes I rode my nice shiny bike to school.
And what was the school like? Did it have hundreds of children, or how many kids in the school? What did the school look like?
Number of kids, probably, it varied, 20, 30, high 30s maybe at the most. During the month of the year when the grass was growing, spring, summer, fall, they'd get enough to eat out in the pasture, but we'd have to feed them during the winter time from a stack of hay that we had stacked near the cattle pen. And then, of course, when it came time to milk the cows, we would, in a wooden box, we would pour a small amount of grain, and that was to lure the cattle into the stall so that we could milk them in the barn. You didn't milk them out in the middle of the corral, you milked them in the barn. So that's how that was.
Now, why did you have cattle? I mean, I don't have cattle at my house.
Cattle?
Yeah, why did you have cows?
Well, what we did was we sold cream. You can separate the cream from the milk. There's a machine that does that. the centrifuge principle. And so after we had saved enough cream, about a week's time, we would take the cream into town and sell it. And we'd also sell the eggs that we'd gathered from the chickens, and that was part of our income for the year. And besides that, we butchered the calves, one calf at a time, as needed for meat. And so then we would take that meat in to what we call the locker, cold storage unit, a very, very large freezer, walk-in freezer with aisles, and you walk down between 2 rows of cubicles, 1 row on the left and 1 row on the right. And you walk down there until you found the locker that you had rented, and picked out meat that had been put in there that was our meat, and take it home. And that's what we had then. That's how we handled it before the days of home refrigerators with freezer compartments in them, or before the days of home freezers, freestanding freezers or chest freezers or whatever. And it got cold in there. You usually put on coveralls that were right there by the door of the locker plant, put on these heavy coveralls to go in to the locker area to find your own locker, to find your own meat, to take it home. Just black and white TV. Well, you had to have your own antenna up on the roof because there was no cable. First of all, we lived in the country, and that was 15 miles, 16 miles from town. And so they didn't have cable service out to the farm, but you had a rooftop antenna. And you could pick up a couple, 3 stations if you lived in the right spot. So.
What were your favorite programs?
I don't remember.
Okay.
There were lots of news programs, like there are today. News programs were important. There were quiz shows and music. Lawrence Welk was the big thing at that time, because he had put on a pretty good program, real good program, and those are things about all I can remember off the top of my head. Yeah.
Do you ever watch Jack Benny?
Oh yeah, but Jack Benny and Abbott and Costello. Yes. The more we talk, the more I can remember. See. You are looking at a flag with the star in the middle of it, and that represents that we have a son in the service, David. He is a colonel at the present time in Washington, D.C. The flag with a star in it was very popular in World War II. Not as well known today. There are many people today who don't know why that flag is there.